Firelight Dialogue Special, The Spring of Smoke and Memory. Imbolc and the Courage of the In-Between. Have you ever noticed how the biggest changes in your life never announce themselves? No drum roll, no flashing neon sign, no Morgan Freeman voiceover explaining that this is the moment everything changes. No, it's quieter than that. It's the moment you pause mid-sentence and think, wait, why am I still doing this? It's the strange discomfort of outgrowing something that technically still fits. It's the emotional equivalent of realizing your favorite pair of jeans has been lying to you for 6 months. That is Imbolc. Not the loud fireworks version of transformation. Not the dramatic burn it all down rebirth. No, Imbolc is the awkward middle, the thaw, the overlap, the moment where the old world, hasn't quite died, and the new one hasn't figured out how to walk yet. And, if that sounds uncomfortable, congratulations, you're paying attention. Let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. Life does not operate in clean, cinematic transitions. There's no neat before and after, no tidy chapters, no spiritual filing system where everything is labeled, resolved, and archived. That's a fantasy we sell ourselves, because ambiguity makes us itchy. We want clarity, we want certainty, we want clean breaks. But reality? Reality is messy. Reality is overlap. And that's where Imbolc lives. Traditionally, Imbolc sits right in that uncomfortable space between winter and spring. Winter isn't done, not even close. It's still cold, still gray, still very much in charge, but something has shifted. The light lingers a little longer. The ground softens just enough to betray what's coming. There's movement, but it's subtle, almost suspicious. This isn't rebirth. This is the idea of rebirth. And humans, being humans, noticed this long before they had calendars or productivity apps to argue about it. Across cultures, this moment, this strange in-between season, was treated with almost obsessive reverence. The Celts named it Imbolc and placed Bridget at its center, goddess of fire, healing, and poetry, which is a fascinating combination if you think about it. Fire for transformation, healing for what survived the winter, and poetry for the things that can't be explained yet. Bridget doesn't rule things. She rules beginnings that are still fragile, beginnings that require tending. Elsewhere, the same impulse shows up wearing different clothes. In Jewish tradition, spring purification rituals don't destroy the old, they address it. Chametz is removed carefully, intentionally. Nothing dramatic, nothing symbolic for show, just honesty. In the Greek world, Hestia, keeper of the hearth, holds the quiet center, the still point where everything gathers before it moves again. And across the East, spring festivals often celebrate not arrival, but anticipation. Notice the pattern? Nobody's pretending the change is finished. They're honoring the process, which, let's be completely honest, is where most of us completely fall apart. Because we like results. We like declarations. We like the moment where we can point and say, "See, that's where I became someone else." But that's not how becoming works, because becoming happens in overlap. And there's a symbol for that. One, Imbolc. It carries it quietly in its pocket. And that symbol is the vesica piscis. Two circles, equal, intersecting, not separate, not merged, overlapping. That almond-shaped space in the middle, that's where the tension lives. Old self meets new self. Past identity meets future possibility. What was meets what's trying to be. And here's the point. We don't like to admit it, but here's the point. That middle space is unstable. It's not meant to be comfortable. It's not meant to last forever. It's a transition zone. But oh, how we love to camp out there. I'll just stay half committed. I'll keep 1 foot here and 1 foot over there. I'll change, but not too much. Yeah, that works about as well as trying to stand in 2 moving cars at the same time. Eventually, something gives. So Imbolc doesn't ask you to leap. It doesn't demand some heroic reinvention. It asks something much more uncomfortable. It asks, what in your life is overlapping that you refuse to reconcile? Where are you living in contradiction, wanting change while clinging to the habits that prevent it? Craving freedom, to loosen control, longing for authenticity while performing for approval. That's the vesica piscis in your life. And here's the part nobody likes. You don't get to stay there forever, because overlap eventually becomes tension. And tension demands resolution. Now, when people hear the word purification, they tend to flinch. Sounds extreme, sounds rigid. Sounds like cold plunges and questionable life choices. But in the context of Imbolc, and really in the context of every spring fire ritual humans have ever practiced, purification isn't about perfection. It's about honesty. It's about clearing out what no longer aligns. Not because it's bad, but because it's finished. And this is where most of us struggle. We're not bad at starting new things. We're terrible at ending old ones. Old roles, old identities, old beliefs that made sense once, but now feel like we're wearing someone else's skin. Why do we hold on? Because the overlap feels safer than the leap, even when it's miserable. Here's the truth. Imbolc whispers, not shouts. You don't need a dramatic reinvention. You need a quiet realignment. This isn't about blowing up your life. It's about noticing where it's already shifted and having the courage to participate in that shift. Because change is happening whether you like it or not. The question is, are you going to resist it? Or are you going to work with it? Imbolc doesn't demand certainty. It asks for awareness. It asks you to sit in the overlap, not forever, but long enough to understand what's actually happening. And then it asks you to choose. Let me leave you with one more uncomfortable truth. The longer you avoid reconciling the overlap in your life, the more it costs you. Energy, clarity, direction. You feel stuck not because nothing is happening, but because too much is happening without resolution. You become a walking contradiction. And that is exhausting. Imbolc is your invitation to stop pretending the tension isn't there, to stop negotiating with what you already know, to stop delaying the decision your life has been quietly asking you to make. So, before you disappear back into the noise of your day, let's let this moment matter. If this conversation lit even a small spark, subscribe to Firelight Dialogues. These aren't one-off reflections. They're part of a longer fire we're tending together. Share this episode with someone who's stuck in the in-between. You know who they are. And if you want to go deeper, the companion paperbacks are waiting. Same voice, same honesty, just more room to sit with the questions. If something stirred questions, resistance, recognition, send them to info@patsanswers.com. That's info at patsanswers.com. This isn't a monologue. It's a dialogue. My final thought is that Imbolc isn't about becoming someone new. It's about recognizing that you already are. You're just overlapping with who you used to be. And, sooner or later, you're going to have to decide which one gets to stay. Until next time, stay curious, stay honest, and maybe stop pretending you don't already know what needs to change.